Hi, so today we're making a shopping bag, a large tote bag, and for this we are using 12 squares. I have pre-made my 12 squares, so if you're new to this video you may want to go away, make 12 squares, and then I shall show you how to put this bag together. My squares are 8 rows and they are a spike stitch. You can use any squares you want, any size you want, because this bag is all about how we're putting it together, not the actual squares you're using. So as long as you have 12 squares, then this is the video for you. One little thing before we get started, I just wanted to say please do subscribe, like and comment, ring the bell, all those things, because it really helps my channel to grow, and it's my dream to become a full-time YouTuber. So if you could do that for me, I would be so very, very grateful. Now this style of bag is known as a windmill bag. So it's really about how we lay out the squares for this to work and how we attach them. So I'm going to start laying them out for you, and we shall see how it looks before we start sewing it together. So to start with, we're going to lay 4 of our squares into one larger square, and then taking 2 there, like this, 2 here, 2 here. So off each corner I'm going to put 2 squares, so you end up with this windmill shape. Now to start with, we're going to attach these 4 together. So I'm just going to take these 4 and I shall show you how we attach them together. So to join these together, I have chosen the contrasting colour because I like the way that looks, and my squares have a front and a back, so I'm going to put them back to back. Now working in the back loop only of the stitches, so on this side it's at the back, and if you turn it like that, it's the back of that one. So it's the back loops only that are next to each other. And then I'm going to do a UK double or a US single stitch. And then I'm going to work all the way along in the back loops only, just doing UK double, US singles all the way along. I shall do a few to show you how it looks. Now, of course, there are other methods of joining squares. You can use any method you like, but I do like this one. It's sturdy and I think it's attractive as well, especially when you're using a contrasting colour. But it's entirely up to you. Back loop only. I shall show you, I've done a few. When you flatten that out, this stitch sits neatly between the 2 squares. Because it's in the back loop only, it actually flattens into it and just becomes a lovely running detail around each square. So I'm going to continue along to the end of here, and then I shall show you attaching the next one. So I've made it to the end of this one. I'm going to take my other 2, place them back to back, and do my next stitch in the back loop only of the first, if I can get it in there, the first stitch of these. There we are, that was tricky. And then just continue along like I did before with those. Back loop only all the way along. So eventually, when I get to the end, I will have a full seam running all the way along there, and then we'll cut the ends and we'll do the same this way. So I've made it to the end. I'm going to cut a decent length end, and I'm going to leave it long. This is one of the only times I don't weave in my ends as I go, because I like to use these ends once the bag is complete to turn it inside out and stitch all the joins. So there'll be a join here and a join here, and just make sure that they are all really secure. So next we're going to fold it this way, and we're just going to do the same again in the back loop only. This is how we're going to join all of our squares now. Starting at the beginning, a single US or a double UK all the way along, back loop only. These first ones are a bit tricky. There we are. So I shall continue all the way along to the end, and then we'll come back and talk about which ones are next. When you make it to this middle join where this seam already is, just keep going on over it. So it'll be a little overlap, but that just makes it more secure. And continue along. So it looks like this. Continue along all the way to the end. So again, with this end, I'm going to cut and leave a decent length for weaving in at a later date and just pull that through. So it's time to pop back downstairs to my living room to get the next squares. So as you can see, I've placed my 4 squares back in the middle, and they have the brown seam on them. So now what I'm going to do is do a seam between each of these and join those together. So it's exactly the same method. I shall go, and I won't film myself doing that because it's the same method, but they're going to do these two, these two, these two, and these two. Okay, so I have seamed all these together. Now I need to attach the two to the main square. So I'm going to seam here, 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 and here. So same method again, and just stitch all of those together, leaving your tail ends for weaving in after. While I'm sat here attaching these squares, I've been thinking about colours. What other colours would be nice to make this in? Comment below what colours you're going to make yours and what types of squares you're going to use too. I have made one of these with just normal granny squares. I shall show you at the end. But yeah, what type of squares are you going to make, and what colours are you going to use? I love to hear what you guys are up to. So do let me know in the comments. Another little pointer I wanted to make, as I'm joining these to the main square, when I come to the end, there's 2 tail ends together. I like to just tie these into a knot. And that just makes me feel like that's nice and securely attached there. Okay, so now we have all of them attached together, it's time to actually turn it into a bag. So I've got some stitch markers here, and I'm going to show you what we do next. Let me grab some of those. Okay, so next I like to keep my tail ends tucked in, and we're going to drag the point up to meet these two. So I'm going to just pop a stitch marker here. I might pop one in the middle there as well. Like this. So each one is going to go like that. So we're going to pull this one in, and it's going to join these two. We're going to pull this one in, and it's going to join to these two. I'm going to pull this one round, and it's going to join to these two. So I'm going to do one at a time. I might stitch this one together and then come back and show you pulling the next one round. So this one is now attached, so I'm going to do this one next. I'm going to tuck my tail ends in, pull this across, and you can add your, did I put it, your little stitch marker, or you can simply just tie these two together at holds it in place, and that one comes round to there. So that is my next seam to do. So this is how it's looking with 2 of the side seams done. If I lift it up, you can sort of get an idea of how it's going to look. So I'm going to do this side next and bring it over to the next 2. I'm going to tie those 2 together. Seam along. So this is how it's looking. It's kind of hard to show you because there's one more side to go. So this one is going to go like this. I tie it and just pin that one there. Where's my pin? You can see now this is going to be a lovely big shopping bag. So I'm going to seam that one, and we're going to talk about weaving in our ends and making a handle. Okay, so all the squares are now put together and you have this really large bag. So what we're going to do next is go around our edge. So to do that, I'm going to do a simple, I'm going to start in a corner, and I'm going to do a simple double crochet UK or single crochet US all the way around, and I'm going to do 2 rows. So in every stitch around, I'm just going to create a border. So I'm going to do 2 rounds of that all the way around. I shall get back to you when I've completed that. As I was going round, I remembered I needed to add, when you get to the top of your point, you're going to want to put 3 in there. And then continue around. So each time you get to a point, put 3, and then when you get back to this one, I've put 1 in there, so I'm going to need to add another 2, and continue around. So the next round is just 1 in each. Okay, so I've made it to the end, and you can see now it has a lovely border all around the edge. So now we're going to start on the strap. So I've made it to my last stitch here. I'm going to add 2 more. 1, 2. Going to chain 1, turn my work, and I'm going to work back into the one I've just created. Still doing single US and double UK stitches. I'm going to work 1, 2, 3, 4 more into there, chain 1, turn, working back into the first one you've created, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches, chain 1, turn, working back into the first one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to continue this, doing rows of single US or double UK, backwards and forwards, 5 stitches for 72 rows. I'm going to carry on and do that now, and I shall come back to you when I have completed 72 rows of 5 single crochets. A little tip with this is add a stitch marker every 10 or 20 rows just to help you count as you go, because it's really frustrating to go back and start counting from the beginning. So every 10 or 20 add a stitch marker, and then you can count from the stitch marker. It makes life much easier. Okay, so I've done my strap. I have actually done 74 rows. It was an accident, but I think it's fine, so I'm going to leave it at 74. So now what I'm going to do is cut a really long end and pull that through. So I have my 74 row strap. Now I fully expect this to stretch. I've made it with acrylic, and as you can see it's quite stretchy. So that's why I've done 72, because once I stretch it out, that's sort of how long I want it. So what I'm going to do now to just ease the stretch a bit is taking my strap and the inside and folding it together, and about 2 or 3 rows up I'm going to start doing a row of slip stitches. Slip stitches aren't very stretchy, so I'm going to continue up the whole way, going through the side and folding the strap in half with slip stitches. This won't stop the strap from stretching completely, but it just stops it from being really stretchy. I've done this with the previous bag I made, and I love it. I use it all the time. I've actually used it for vegetable shopping, so it's had potatoes and apples and carrots and things in it, and it held up just fine. I use it a lot as a market bag, so this does work as a strap method. I'll take my stitch markers out, but as you can see now, the strap is folded in half, and it has this, just takes the stretch away from that. So I'm going to continue along until I get to about 2 or 3 stitches towards the end, and I'll get back to you. So I've made it to 3 or 4 rows down. This is 75 rows, and looking at it, I probably should have made it a little bit longer. Please use your own judgment with this. If you want the bag to have a nice long strap, just judge it as you go. I think I probably should have done maybe 85, but we'll see. As it stretches, it'll probably be fine. So now to attach it to the next corner, I'm going to sew it on. So I'm just going to literally place it and stitch through each stitch at the top and loop that through very simply all the way along. I'm just going through the stitch at the top of the bag here, and then the stitch at the bottom of the strap. And now I've done that, I'm going to go back the other way just to make sure, double it up and make sure it's really secure. Like so. So I shall trim those ends. But that is my first strap attached. Now we need to do one for these points. Exactly the same method. Okay, so I have attached both my straps. I think actually this length will be fine. Looking at it, that's a nice big space to put your arm in. So the very last job to do is to weave in the ends, and to do that I'm going to turn it inside out, but before I do I still have a couple that are still on the outside, so I'm just going to pop my hook through, wrap that around, and just pull it onto the inside, and I think I have another one here, pop my hook through. Come on, pull it through to the inside. There we are. So now I'm going to turn the whole bag inside out, and you can see all your ends are where your squares join. So that's why I left them long right until the end, because now I can weave them in all around where they join on the inside, making each join really secure. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now, and then I shall show you the completed bag. Here she is, the final piece. I've already put loads of stuff in there to show you that she can take a lot of things. The strap is a lovely size for fitting on your shoulder. I'm really loving these colours. I definitely want to make another one like this, using a different type of square. Don't know yet, but I'll experiment. Let me show you my other one. So this is my original. Made this well over a year, maybe even 2 years ago now, and I have used it so much. It's a little bit bobbly where I've used it so much, but I love it, and it holds tons and is just so useful. So thank you so much guys for watching to the end. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I'd love to hear about your bags. Let me know what squares and what colours you used, and I shall see you again soon for our next tutorial.